Her brothers had gotten mad at her last time when she followed them and juiced them off before the game had started. They said to save it for when it counted, and Nessa was trying to, but it was difficult. She was entranced by her mother's motions and her father's gentle gasps. She wanted to help so bad. No one touched Daddy's staff as good as her. Maybe if she could just stay focused. Nessa corrected herself, shaking out of her fugue. She popped up, gave Daddy a kiss on the cheek that he sighed softly at, and ran down the hall. She hung in the doorways as she scanned rooms for the glow of Eric's phone. It wasn't that she didn't like her other brother, Keith. Her midlist brother was fun to play with, as were all athletic bodies like his. Nessa loved the way rough strong hands feel against your hips, pulling you in. But Eric was just more fun. He played hard to get, which was something Nessa rarely encountered in life. She liked seeing how far she could push him before he'd give in, something they weren't supposed to do except during game night. Nessa had been stringing Eric along almost nightly since their last games, and she knew he was absolutely ready to blow. She had especially liked when he was playing computer games with his friends online. Nessa would sneak up and fondle him. He'd try so hard to keep his focus. It was cute. Nessa's face lit up in realization. She careened around the corner of the banister to the second floor before tiptoeing up the steps. She crept into the game room as quietly as she could. It featured a foosball table, a billiard table and several old arcade machines. Adjacent was a theater that they would use for birthday parties. It also happened to be one of Eric's favorite hideaway spots. He got overwhelmed easily in a family of social butterflies, and when their parents would have company over, Eric would slink away. A light slid across the surface of the wall, its source hidden by rows of large red leather chairs in front of a projector screen. Nessa fell to all fours and crept her way around the corner. "Shit!" Eric whispered out from the last row between two of the chairs. "God damn it." His phone screen was flashing colorful patterns in his glasses. His legs were spread in a big V, and he was so entranced he didn't even see Nessa creeping up. He was sitting against the front of the chair on the floor, the way Nessa had against his chair before. His belly was scrunched up into a get that his wrists rested on while he concentrated deeply on the screen. He was breathing through his mouth, normal for Eric. Nessa had to stifle laughter watching him in the dark. She heard their father groan loudly from across the house. A few seconds later their mother sang out, "Ready or not, here I come." Nessa smiled to herself and stretched an arm out. Her fingers touched Eric's ankle and he juiced it away with a soft yelp, dropping the phone and meeting her eyes. "Nessa, not now, seriously. I'm in the middle of something important." His head juiced back to the screen. "Gee, Eric." Her hand continued to creep up his leg. "I don't know if this is what Daddy meant by family game night." She adopted a mock tone of concern. Eric was wearing basketball shorts that fell loosely around thighs so chubby they were thicker than Nessa's chest. Her nails tickled as they parted his leg hair, seeking into the darkness beneath the fabric. His attention was torn between her and the increasingly frantic sounds and lights coming from whatever was on his phone. "Nessa, seriously, we're doing a raid tonight. Everyone's gonna be pissed." Nessa's hand had found Eric's staff. It was already hard and it was so warm in her grip. She gasped at a new warmth between her legs and felt like she was grabbing a live wire. Eric squirmed and whined while she cemented her hold on him, like an expert wrestler pinning their prey. "You can keep playing." She had crawled her way between his legs, prying his thighs apart and wedging herself into the space. "I don't mind." Nessa grabbed his waist and tugged helplessly. With a sigh, Eric slid his back down so he was laying on the floor. Nessa reached both hands down and greedily ripped his shorts down, exposing his erect staff like a flagpole waving in the wind. Nessa swooped her head next to it and nuzzled against the shaft. It bristled and juiced at her touch involuntarily. "Damn it, Nessa." The warm wetness of her mouth fell upon the head of his staff and his words became a garble in his mouth. He was docile for a moment, then grabbed the back of her head, pulling her away. He was pretending to still care about the game, holding it above his head. "I said stop it." Eric hissed a bit too loudly. Nessa wiped at her bottom lip with her thumb, hurt. "I just got excited to play, that's all." She sat with an arm outstretched, supporting herself with a flat palm and rocking back and forth, chastised. "I told you to stop and you didn't. I'm your older brother, you're supposed to listen. I bet if I was Dad you dash." The sliding of pads from the game room just outside made them both freeze. "Hello," their mother's voice called into the room in a sing-song voice. "Anyone having fun in here?" Nessa became an invertebrate, sinking her head down to the floor silently. Eric could feel her breath on his balls now. As if playing into the snake impression, Nessa's tongue had shot out and was tasting at the air around them. The damp warmth of her tongue occasionally made contact and he'd feel his staff twitch in joy. He couldn't move her, couldn't tell her to stop. Mom might hear. He had started to sweat slightly, the corners of his glasses fogging. Their mother's heavy breathing was now coming from the doorway. If she took a few steps in and peeked around the corner she'd see them. Eric tried to quietly turn his phone over, but Nessa had started to gently suck at his balls now and it felt like his staff was going to explode any second. Nessa had been coming into his room late at night and trying to mess with him. She'd touch him, sit in his lap, and usually she'd refuse to leave him alone. Until he gave in, that is. She'd pout and whine until he used her like the little slut she was and he'd see why Dad had to be so hard on her. It was like she couldn't help herself. "Don't you want to come for Mommy?" Janet opined in husky tones. The pads of her feet slid against the laminate wood as she shambled in. Nessa's tongue slid like a scalpel up the shaft of Eric's staff. As though the tip of her tongue had summoned it, a warm flow of cum erupted from the tip of his staff, gently sloping down onto her tongue. Nessa pinned his thighs in place with her elbows as Eric took in several quick spasming breaths, shuddering against her. The lenses of his glasses were now completely fogged, but he dare not remove them for fear of noise. If she found them now, it was over 5 minutes in. "Oh, Mummy!" a theatrical voice called out in high falsetto. Their mother's footsteps stopped for a moment before resuming and fading as she left the room. Eric realized he had been holding his breath since before he climaxed and made a tiny O with his mouth, exhaling. The breath came slowly, shakily, and he felt his muscles tense and his joints settle. He looked down into Nessa's face. His cum had shot into her mouth, yes, but was also strewn from her right eyebrow and down the side of her nose. She brought a thumb to her nose, pulling the extra into her mouth. Like and subscribe for more.